rewind time and replay it in my mind, replay it in my mind. Oh no, they'll never know this love and how it feels. I never thought love at first sight could feel so real. You brought emotions out I couldn't feel.
Welcome to the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name's Boogie Bentley. Were you guys waiting on me? What is everybody going on in the chat about? Were you guys waiting on me to show up? You guys couldn't start the show without me. Look, there's three things that are certain in this world. Actually, let's make it four: death, taxes, whipping Vandy's ass, and Spectrum Internet going out on a Monday morning. It's an ongoing theme. The trucks, hey, they basically moved in. I mean, they're parked in front of my house every single day, but it is my fault. No excuses here. We're going to jump right into the show because Cainer, and he's been sitting in the green room for 35 minutes waiting to start this show. So let's start this show.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You know, I need to give you admin access just so you can just start the show.
I was thinking, whenever you weren't here, I was thinking if I could, I tried to go in the chat and tell them, but I didn't have that access. So, yeah, I need to get admin privileges to where when you don't show up to your scheduled start time, Boogie, I can start the show.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And hey, we can't make excuses. We got a show to get into here. We got a couple of super chats right out of the gate. Evan counts for $10. Says, how in the actual F do we go into the weekend ranked and beat the brakes off of Vanderbilt and come out of the weekend unranked?
Because Vanderbilt's that bad.
You didn't beat them bad enough. Dylan Elam for $5 says T-minus 10 minutes until Spectrum makes Cainer run the show again. GBO, probably going to happen. When I get kicked off, I'm going straight to my phone and just ending the stream. That's what I'm going to do. It's ridiculous. What are you going to do? They've been working on it we were trying to talk about it right before we went live. I think it's been 3 or 4 weeks ago. But I digress. We got a show to do last Monday morning stream of the regular season. We're going to jump right back into it for the bowl game. Going to do some crossover stuff throughout the offseason, whether we talk recruiting, transfer portal, whatever we want to get into, we'll get into it. But let's talk about a little bit about this Tennessee-Vanderbilt game. Senior day win, took care of business, everything you want to see. One of the highlights for me was seeing guys like, the seniors, guys like Joe Milton, Jacob Warren, McCallum Castles, Ramel Keaton make some plays. That was what I like to see on senior day. Everybody got some, but what are your takeaways from the win over Vanderbilt?
Yeah, it was the senior show, right? I mean, it was the Joe Milton show, but it was a senior show. Joe Milton went off 6 total touchdowns. Ramel Keaton, a senior, caught 2 touchdowns. McCallum Castles, Jacob Warren each caught a touchdown. Charles Campbell, who missed a 41-yarder, they put him back out there with less than a minute, and this is one of those meaningless fourth-quarter field goals that I'm behind because you can allow him to make one to end his Tennessee career, at least at Neyland Stadium. So it was exactly what was supposed to happen. Your seniors go out there and ball out. You beat up on an in-state foe that's your little brother. You beat up on a team that's horrendous. And Tennessee did all those things. So it was really good to see. I get the frustrations that it's like, man, Joe Milton, where's this been all year? He was phenomenal. He was confident. He was poised. Even his misses were good balls. And he had a couple of drops, a couple of shots down the field that weren't connected on that. Again, I'll continue to say it. These receivers got to make some plays sometimes. But Ramel Keaton made some plays, and I thought his touchdown, coming back, getting the football, then getting vertical back upfield was a great play. So it was great to see. It was good to see for Joe Milton. It was good to end the regular season that way, and we'll see where Tennessee goes bowling.
Of course, everybody's talking about Joe Milton opting out, Nico playing, and all this stuff, but I heard you guys talking on the Rocky Top Rewind. So Joe Milton pretty much confirmed he's playing in that bowl game. Is that accurate?
Yeah, well, we'll at this time, I would assume so, right? I mean, the feeling was that he was going to play anyway, and then we get to the post-game press conference, and at the end of his availability, he kind of said something. He was referring to the team, yada, 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 and then he says, and we have one more to go. And so, I mean, that pretty much all but says he's going to play in the bowl game. So at this time, I would expect Joe Milton to play in this bowl game. Again, he is going to go in pro day, and he is going to go in the NFL combine. And the scouts are just going to fall in love with him. His draft stock is going to soar. Why? Because you're throwing routes on air, you're throwing routes in shorts, and he looks like Cam Newton. And so it will not shock me whatsoever when he is the talk of this NFL draft process and he gets, taken, a lot higher than what we think he's going to be taken. He'll be an NFL draft pick for sure, but at this time, I still do believe that he's going to play in the ball game. So, we'll see. I know a lot of fans would wish he would just kind of, that episode of The Office whenever Mr. Dunder comes back to the I think it was Mr. Dunder comes back in and yeah, it's Michael Scott just kind of shoving him out the door saying, okay, thank you. Fans want that to be Joe Milton and allow Nico to play, but still, we'll see what happens, but I think Joe's going to play.
Yeah, he said his comments, they all but say that he's going to play in that bowl game. He didn't come out there and say, hey, guys, I'm going to play in the bowl game. But everything indicates, right, his actions, his statements, his words, something that indicates to me that guys are coming back for 2024 is not going through senior day. And you can give me the politically correct media answer of, well, they're going to take time, they're going to talk about it. If you're going through senior day, right? Like Jacob Warren last year, a guy that went through senior day, but then he decided to come back. That makes sense. That's logical, right? It's your last time. Cooper Mays elects not to go through senior day activities. That just screams, I'm coming back for 2024. But some other interesting names. We talk about this offensive line and rebuilding this thing and what you need in 2024, and it starts up front. I think you've got some skill position guys. You got the quarterback. You got it. Maybe need some help at tight end. But Cooper Mays, Javonte Spraggins, both don't go through senior day. Keenan Peely, Danico Slaughter, Dane Davis, Jackson Lampley. Cooper Mays is coming back.
Yeah, that'd be huge if he does. I wrote about it yesterday. I think outside of the quarterback, the most important player in this offense the last couple of years has been your center, because you've seen what this offense was without Cooper Mays in 21, and you saw what this offense was without Cooper Mays to begin this year. So it's very, very important. I thought it was interesting that he didn't go through senior day activities. Like, why? Like, as you pointed out, Jacob Bourne did it last year. You can come back, like, just to make sure. So kind of read into that what you will. I don't think anything's, settled 100% right now, but Tennessee needs to take advantage and try to get that done. And, we know in the era of college football, NIL is a big deal. Tennessee, I would assume, will make it a priority to say, hey, Cooper, this is how much you mean to us. Get back over here and let's run it back. So we'll see. But that would be, in my opinion, the biggest targets, if you will, of COVID seniors. Got to get Cooper Mays back on this roster. And him not going through senior day, I think, you can't take it not as a good sign. So we'll see exactly what happens in the coming weeks. But yeah, there's a bunch of these COVID seniors out there. We talk about the line of scrimmage. Javonte Spraggins, with his injury, I think that kind of handcuffed him a little bit to where it kind of worked in Tennessee's favor a little bit. You hate that he was hurt. Dane Davis, I feel like, was always coming back. We'll see about those defensive linemen, Bryce Neeson, Omar Norman Lotz, and Amari Thomas. But you can go from being super veteran-led at the line of scrimmage or so young and inexperienced, and with essentially a rookie quarterback next year, you'd rather have the former for sure.
Yeah, I think Hubs put out an article, I think it was Saturday, that listed everybody that had a COVID year, the seniors that are gone, and then he also listed the seniors that have a COVID year that didn't go through senior day. So a bunch of interesting information. I may put together a video on that and kind of break that down. But the next couple of weeks, man, my wife does not like the comment that you made, because I make the same comment that these coaches don't get paid enough. And I saw somebody rip you to shreds in the comments last Monday when you said that, and I'm going, I get yelled at by my wife more about that than I do
somebody
not taking
ripping
out
me
the
to
trash.
shreds. No, never.
No, that never happens on the internet. The bottom line is the next couple of weeks for these coaches is going to be a busy, crazy time, and we're looking at guys that could or could not come back, right? You got to recruit those guys back. The transfer portal rumors are already starting with Dylan Sampson. Some people can get mad and they can yell and they can scream and say, that's just speculation. No kidding. And there's going to be a whole lot of speculation over the next coming weeks. What is the next 2 to 3 weeks look like for Josh Heupel? Where does it start? Transfer portal window that opens here, in the first week of December, I think it is. And then when does he sit down and start having those conversations of, hey, we're going to need you to kind of move on? Because that happens. Some people, the common theme, a guy goes into the transfer portal, good, don't want you here. Sometimes Josh Heupel leads you to the door for the transfer portal. When they kind of lay out the next couple of weeks for Josh Heupel?
Yeah, sometimes it's, come on, buddy, let's go. Let's go look for different opportunities. I mean, you kind of get pushed towards the portal, and that's everywhere. That's not just here. And there's some guys that go in the portal to where it's like, man, need you, don't want to lose you, come back, And so it is silly season officially, and the portal's not even open. But how many of these how many of these announcements have you already seen since Saturday? So and so intends to enter the transfer portal. So and so intends to enter the transfer portal. It's the wild, wild west, and it's about to get wild. And I mean, these coaches, man, I'm telling you, like whenever I remember, seeing these coaches going to these recruiting events and these camps and everything, like in the month of June. And think about the month of June. It's when you host all your official visits every single weekend. You're doing player workouts. You are doing all these prospect camps throughout the day. And these coaches, like, it looks like they haven't slept in a month. And I'm just like, man, who would want that life? Times that by 10 in the month of December, where you're trying to get your class graduated or finishing off the semester. You're trying to finish off the class of 24. You're trying to re-recruit your roster. You're trying to have meetings with every single person on your football team. You're evaluating who's leaving your team, going to the portal. You're trying to recruit out of the portal. Oh yeah, and you're trying to prepare for whatever bowl game you're going to. I can't. I don't know why. They must love football. Josh Heupel and his staff must love football, because that month of December, you couldn't pay me enough money to sign me up for that. I mean, it's just so much going on. So it's gonna be wild, man. And it's exciting for content creators like us, because there's going to be a lot to talk about, a lot to write about, and I'm excited. I hate the football season's over, essentially, but this is going to be a fun little month coming up. But when you talk about roster management, when you talk about what your team will look like in 2024, everybody's saying, way too early season predictions for 24. I can't do that right now because I have no clue who's going to be on the line of scrimmage. I just don't. The month of December is going to tell us exactly what that is.
Do you have the exact date on the portal? It says 15-day window during the spring, but then it also opens once postseason selections are announced in December. So is that once the bowl games are announced, that's open? I thought it was like first week in December.
It's next Monday, I believe, is the 4th, right?
The 4th.
Let's see here.
That sounds right. Sounds right.
It's December the 4th, and the portal will be open for, I mean, what was it, like 3 weeks last year?
Does it make it to? It doesn't even make it to January, does it?
No. Sorry, I just dropped my phone.
Man.
I about said a bad word. I think it closes, but of course, as we know, if you can get into the portal, you just have to be in, and then you can select your team whenever. So I think it might close towards the end of December. I'll have to go check the date, but it opens on the 4th. In baseball, it was open for 45 days. And so I had that from this past summer, but I know that it opens the 4th, and everybody's going to be jumping in there. But even when it closes, you can wait, and you just really have to find your destination before school starts. And that's nothing to remember. Tennessee starts later in January compared to most schools around the country. So oftentimes that helps Tennessee. Sometimes it can hurt Tennessee.
Let me hit a couple of super chats real quick. Matt for $5 says, yay, great final home game for Milton. I roll emoji. Now let's hope he pulls a Hyatt and we get Nico for 4 quarters in the bowl game. I hope that too. I'm right there with you guys. I'm ready to move on. Congrats, Joe, on your great game. Let's go and let Nico take over. Don't expect it, though. Wesley Williams for 5 says, Dorfy, GBO. Thank you for the super chat, Wesley. We appreciate that, my friend. We got about 150 people watching on this Monday. The season's over. Everybody finds something else to do, but you diehards are right here with us all year long. We appreciate that. Smash the thumbs up for us. Share out the link. I'm still banned on Facebook for copyright infringement.
Wow.
I didn't realize that was a thing. Because YouTube, right, they just split the money. Like, if you use copyright music, they just take the money, and I'm fine with that. Facebook apparently says, no, you can no longer post, message. I can't approve people. I can't do anything on Facebook. My internet doesn't work. My pets' heads are falling off. Let's hit this super chat from Papa J. Thank you, Papa J. Said, would love if we could play at least Coop, Bruce, Braggins, and Gabe. I can't read. And Gabe to come back. GBO.
There are so many of these seniors that have a decision to make that, like, one pops up new and I'm like, oh yeah, him, Gabe Judy Lawley, Tamarian McDonald. I mean, there's so many, and I'm with you, man. I'm gonna take that list and do a show on it and just kind of break down. All right, here's who's done. Here's who could come back. I think Jalen Rod's going to the NFL. I think Tyler Barron is going to the NFL. Jalen Rod's a junior, but I think he's going to the NFL. I think Tyler Barron's going to the NFL. None of those guys have made it official. That's just kind of my gut instinct, right? But boy, if you could bring back a Brew, and I think it all depends on his rehab, which looks like he's ahead of schedule, so good for him. I mean, that would be huge. Cooper, we've talked about. It can just change the course of your 24 season. I mean, it really can.
We've talked about transfer portal. We've talked about guys that can come back. We talked about Cooper Mays, Javonte Spraggins, Keenan Peely. I think that's a huge one. Let's talk about guys that may be gone. When you look at this Tennessee roster, the turnover has been so crazy to see. Going back and looking at some of Pruitt's classes, guys that have left. Josh Heupel's done a good job in the portal rebuilding this roster, but there's also some guys that kind of get weeded out. Who are some names? Do you have any names in mind? Again, I was listening to you guys on the Rocky Top Rewind. You said you think somewhere between 0 to 10 could possibly enter the portal. Who are some guys you think Tennessee may lose out or just see move on?
I mean, I don't. It's not like I've heard these names like, "Hey, I'm going to enter the portal," or "Hey, watch for this name to enter the portal." It's just kind of putting two and two together and knowing the era in college football that we're in right now. Tennessee had about 10 players go to the transfer portal last year, maybe even been 11. But I mean, Boogie, they were complete non-factors, right? I mean, the biggest factor, I have to go back and look, but I mean, Jimmy Holiday, who's your kick returner, he might have been your biggest one, right? I mean, there's unless I'm just forgetting somebody obvious, I think you're going to get a lot of that this year as well, and pretty much for every team around the country. I think the conversation would start with a young offensive lineman that everybody had high hopes for, but it just didn't work out. And Addison Nichols, where's his mind at right now? Does he see greener pastures somewhere? Does he see an opportunity now that he played pretty much the entire game, against Vanderbilt, to where he can step up and have a bigger role for Tennessee next year? I don't know, but that's a guy that we thought would play a ton this year and didn't. So, where's his mind at? I mentioned Nathan Leacock we were asked about Nathan Leacock on the show last night. I mean, he was a top 60 recruit in the country, right? Great gift for Josh Heupel and everything. And with all the injuries at wide receiver, he doesn't even crack the field at all. Kind of where's his mind at right now? And some of these guys, do you have enough tape to even get in the portal and go somewhere else? I don't know. And so, that's kind of the way I look at those things. I'm not saying that those two guys go into the portal, but just some examples. You can't rule anything out in today's era of college football, right? So we'll have to see. But I think that there's going to be a lot of guys that are usual, non-factors that will enter the portal to where, I think Brent said it last night. Fans will be like, "Oh, he's on the team? Okay." Oh, yeah, he's still on the team. I forgot about him. And then there might be a surprise or two. I know the rumors are swirling right now about Dylan Sampson. Doesn't shock me whatsoever. Do you remember how all this was happening with Jalen Wright last year? It's almost the exact same situation, right? Jalen Wright was the best back on the roster last year. Didn't really get used like that. Other teams saw that, trying to come and get him, right? Because he's a good player. And just because the portal's not open right now doesn't mean there's a way for teams to get in contact with these guys through third parties. So Dylan Sampson's going to be RB1 for this team this year, and he knows that. So I'd be floored if Dylan Sampson leaves Tennessee. That's just my opinion. So I think Tennessee will step up and be like, just like they did with Jay Wright, like, "Hey, this is how much you mean to us. Stay here." So we'll see what happens, man. But again, there's going to be some movement here in the next little bit.
Yeah, I put a video out on Sampson yesterday, and that's exactly what I compared it to. Because how many days was it after Jay Wright put out that tweet that the NIL deal was announced? I mean, it was within a matter of days. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
Shout out Brian Staley. What's up, brother? Good to see you in the chat. How do you keep the incoming guys interested in coming to Tennessee or to any college with the portal and paying seniors to stay? Shout out to Brian, man. Braylon is a gamer. Talking about future players coming in. Can't wait to see Braylon in Orange. He's gonna be a baller, man. He's a guy almost like Boo that pops up in your feed every Saturday, right? From his game Friday night, the highlights from Braylon. Excited to get him on campus. But Brian brings up a good question, and I want to kind of throw this at you too. As you mentioned, a guy like Addison Nichols, that's a redshirt freshman, right? So he starts to ask questions. Where do I fit into this thing? Particularly
Is that his dad, real quick?
Yeah.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, Brian's
That's cool.
the man. Brian's the man.
Braylon joined our me and Matt Ray. He'll know who Matt Ray is, obviously, with Trail Tidbits a couple weeks ago, and he did awesome. He was so good. So again, I'm excited to see him play. But continue, Boogie. Sorry,
man. I had Braylon came on and did an interview with me when he committed, and we talked like 2-3 minutes of football, and then we talked about just life, and it was so much fun. But I asked him what he did for fun, and I'm like, video games, this, that, and he's like, "Well, my girlfriend takes up so much time." I'm like, okay, I'll see what's going on here. Let's get this thing back on track. You're talking about Addison Nichols, a guy that, is he going to question where he stands with this team, particularly what happens if Cooper Mays comes back, if Spraggins comes back? Where do these young guys, find their place at the table? But then you look at a team like Georgia, right? And this Tennessee football team, it's a bunch of seniors and a bunch of freshmen or redshirt freshmen. How do you feel that middle ground? Because Georgia, it's just like one after the other, one after the other. So how do you keep kids? Even talking about the wide receivers, what happens if Brew comes back? Dante Thornton, those are your two starters on the outside, Squirrels on the inside. When do Caleb Webb and Chaz Nimrod say, hey, I made plays as a redshirt freshman, I'll just go elsewhere? How do you balance that to go along with what Brian said, these young incoming kids who they want playing time? That's why Josh Heupel doesn't get paid enough when he gets paid $9 million a year.
It's a good question, man. And I think easy answer is, and this is not to say that Tennessee does not have a good culture, because I think you heard McCallan Castle speak on it after the game the other night about how much this culture and this city and this program has meant to him, and what Josh Heupel's done with it. But look at Georgia. Like, there's not a whole lot of turnover there. There's not a whole lot of guys that leave to want to go and play somewhere else. They just recruit. Guys come in and compete. They wait their turn. They step up and play. They go to the NFL. It sounds simple and easy, but that's kind of the path for Georgia here lately in the last couple of years, and that's the path that every team in America wants to get to, Tennessee included. So I don't know, man. I think Kirby does a great job. Obviously, he's a good coach. He's a great recruiter. He's a super good motivator, thinking, brainwashing his team, telling them that everybody thinks that they suck, which I think is just, as a head coach, a great talent to have, right? Because Georgia actually thinks people think that they're awful, which I don't know how that is. But also having a culture to where you keep guys in your roster. They don't want to leave. They want to be a part of winning. And if you continue to win and win and win and produce NFL talent at the clip that you are, then why would you even want to leave, even if you're not getting as much PT as you want right now? So I think simple answer is to win more football games and create a winning environment, a winning culture, which Josh Heupel's done a great job of starting here at Tennessee. But you got to continue to, as he said the other night, proud of the progress that he's made so far after 3 years. Knows there's still a long way to go, and you just got to keep kind of chipping away at that.
Yeah, I love, we use the word culture all the time, right? We used it when Heupel came in, he's changing the culture. He's doing this, he's doing that. Then eventually it was like, we got to understand the culture's changed. But still little things happen, little things that are said that just remind you. And hearing McCallan Castle's talk after the game against Vanderbilt, and he's talking about how, I love my time here, but it's not necessarily about football. It's about the people. That is a recruiting sales pitch. Just put it on a billboard and let's roll with it. Josh Heupel has changed the culture here. And,
Dakota says that I just had a great recruiting pitch for Georgia. Dakota, Georgia doesn't need me to help recruit for him. I got news for you.
I got told that I was recruiting for they said, Boogie, you made this entire video about Boo Carter visiting Colorado, and all you did was a sales pitch for why Colorado's so great. Oh, my gosh. It never fails.
Hey, Colorado, man, it was the talk of the town. It was the talk of the country there for a couple of weeks, right? And nobody's been talking about Colorado here since. I know there's a lot of people around the area that have probably heard about that, but had a quarterback decommit and tough times there, man.
It was fun to talk about while it lasted, though, right? I had fun talking about Dion. It was fun. Yeah, Coach Jay's a USC recruiter. Let's tie a big bow. Let's put a big bow on year 3 of the Josh Heupel era. It didn't play out exactly as we wanted. We were both at 9-3. Tennessee finishes 8-4. I made the comment last night. If Tennessee had just beat Florida, Missouri is way better than anybody thought, especially me. I was downplaying them going into the game. And then the week of, I start to kind of backtrack and think, man, maybe they're a little bit better than we think. But if you just take care of Florida and you finish 9-3, I think this fan base is in a way better spot. Still, we've talked the numbers to death. 8 wins for only the, 4th time since Philip Fulmer was here. How many people in the chat were even alive when Philip Fulmer was here? It's that makes you feel old. But I think Josh Heupel's got this thing headed in the right direction. It's okay to be disappointed with 8-4, but I think the future's definitely bright. But put a big bow on year 3 of Josh Heupel.
Yeah, I think you said it well, man. You don't want to settle for 8-4, but when you put things in perspective, only the 4th time this happened since Philip Fulmer, 2nd time since 2016 that an 8-win regular season's happened. Point is, it hasn't happened an awful lot around these parts in quite some time. And again, you don't you don't want to settle for that. You don't want to be happy with an 8-win season. I get that, especially coming off last season. But, man, if 8-4 is your floor with Josh Heupel, you are heading in the right direction. You are doing something right. You just got to get to a point to where you can win on the road, be a good football team on the road. Tennessee was in 2022. It was not in 2023. You've got to continue to recruit, bring talent to your roster, continue to add depth at certain positions. And, moving forward, a willingness to play and mix some things up to where I don't think there's been there in the defensive secondary. I'm getting off track here. But anyway, the Florida game, as you pointed out, like those are the types of games, those are the type of the hiccups that you need to eliminate as you continue this upward ascent, right? Football games, losses happen. Sometimes you get tripped up and everything. But Florida is not a good football team. There was no excuse to get just beat the way you did down there in Gainesville. So that loss really stings and really puts a damper on this season. But overall, again, 8-4. If that's your floor, you're doing something right. Tennessee's headed in the right direction, and I can't wait to see what this roster looks like in the next couple of weeks, and we can start those early predictions for 24 and all the Heisman talk for Nico, right?
Oh, man, I can't wait. I enjoy, you said it as a content creator, I love you guys' silly season. I'm just going to steal that. I call it transfer portal season. It's fun, man. It's something to talk about. It gives us content. I like speculation, man, and I get it. People are like, why are you putting that out there? You're stirring negativity into the universe. No, I'm talking about the hot topic. I'm talking about what, if you came over to drink a beer and watch Monday Night Football, we would be like, hey, man, did you see the post on the board about Dylan Sampson? What did you think? And then we would start bouncing back and forth. That's what this channel is all about. So I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to enjoy silly season. Go check out what Cainer is doing over at Locked On Balls. A lot of people yell at me, man. They say, why don't you cover basketball? Why don't you cover baseball? Because Cainer does it. I let him do it. Go check out him at Locked On Balls. Go check out VolQuest. They cover that guy. They'll have you guys covered. We're going to do some watch parties. We're going to do a watch party on Saturday for the SEC championship game. We'll do some basketball watch parties, some baseball watch parties. But go check out Locked On Balls. Go check out what Cainer's got going on at VolQuest. But give us your thoughts on the way out the door about the SEC championship. Georgia favored by 5. ESPN FPI has Georgia at 52.1%. Although that's not always accurate. The end of the Alabama game, 0.1% chance that they win that game. And, of course, typical Alabama, they get it done.
Again, we've seen this story so many times, right? And as Tennessee people, it's like, oh, my God, we're going to watch it because we love football. But Georgia, Alabama, so annoying. Again, recruiting pitch for Georgia. Georgia's best team in the country by a country mile, in my opinion. Just is what it is. Alabama showed me a lot this year. Alabama's not as talented as it's been in years past, but Alabama's still a very, very good football team with players and great coaches. Milrose impressed me as the years have gone on. Alabama's ability, just like the other day in the Iron Bowl, just like against Tennessee, Alabama's ability to be down, not panic, and just continue to chip away and go to work. And go and make plays to get back in football games or win football games. It's been really impressive as the years gone on. So I like Georgia in this one, but I expect it to come down to the wire and Alabama to never truly be out because Alabama's kind of shown that ability that it can never be, down and out for long, if you will. So I like Georgia in the game, but in a game that we've seen so many different times, it's annoying, but count me in to watch it because I'm a football fan.
Yeah, let's take your media hat off and let's put your football fan hat on. As a Tennessee fan, who do you want to win this game and why?
Nobody.
You have to answer. You have to answer. Let's see if you can answer correctly, because if not, I'm going to yell at you.
So you're saying there is an answer?
I think there's a correct answer.
Okay, who do I want to win? Divisions are no more moving forward. But I can't, as a Tennessee guy, I can't actively root for Alabama or root for Georgia. I guess I would root for Alabama to knock Georgia down because Georgia's the king of the castle right now. But again, I'm rooting for a meteor right now. I just, as a fan, you can't. I'm at a loss for words. But I guess if I had to pick, it would be Bama to knock Georgia down a few pegs, right?
That's where I'm at. I want Bama to win to knock hopefully both of them out of the college football playoff. I don't want the SEC represented. I used to be a guy because I grew up when Fulmer was dominant, right? I saw Tennessee win every game when they got late in the season because you knew that's what was going to happen. So I had this SEC pride. Oh, yeah, Roll Tide when they're in the national championship.
Don't
All
be
that
the
nonsense.
SEC guy. Come on.
I was until Tennessee sucked for 20 years, and I was like, "This is the dumbest thing ever. I will never pull for the SEC ever again. I don't care if Tennessee wins every game for 3 years like Georgia has. I will never ever pull for another SEC team again. Bowl games, go ACC, go Pac-12, go whatever new conference they come up with. I am done." So you gave the correct answer. You gave the correct
As
answer.
John Wilkerson has famously said many times, you don't root for these teams on Saturdays, so why on earth would you root for these teams in December and January?
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
I agree, Cainer. It's been a fun year. Maybe not as fun as last year, but it was still fun. We'll continue doing some crossover stuff. We're going to be doing the charity stream coming up probably in January. Cainer, VolQuest. We'll get all the guys on board and see how much money we can raise for the Fisher House Foundation. But it's been a good one, man. We'll catch up later, and we'll keep doing things. Make sure you guys stay tuned in. We'll give you the schedule when we're going to do crossovers.
Yep, we can tell you the Boogie will be on the show this Friday, and we'll kind of tie a bow on the season for Locked On Vols. But yeah, going to continue to collaborate with you guys. Looking forward to that charity stream, and thank you guys for allowing me to come on and crash your Monday mornings the last couple of weeks. It's been fun.
I don't know if you crashed it. I think you saved it probably more times than you crashed.
I did save it a couple of times, that's for sure.
All right, brother. It's been a good time. We'll catch up later.
All right, Boogie.
All right. We still got 185 people watching live, almost 200 people watching live. Guys, smash the thumbs up. We would greatly appreciate it. Share this stream out because I am banned for copyright infringement on Facebook. I need you guys to be my street team, my advertising, my marketing, my directing, my internet service provider. That would be good too. Timothy McGee for $2 says, "Hey, no more option routes, more timing routes." Shout out to Timothy. I'm always here for those super chats. Again, guys, make sure you do smash the thumbs up. Go check out the merch if you haven't. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but you guys know where. Bonfire.com/store/Talkin VAWLS. That link is in the description below. We got the brand new Cult of 8 shirts. You want to be a part of the cult, go check those out. Also, just regular Talkin VAWLS shirts, rivalry shirts, all that good stuff is at bonfire.com. So go check it out. You guys know for the back half of the Monday morning show, what we do is we go listen to Coach Heupel's comments immediately after the game, his post-game press conference. We're going to go through it. We're going to break it down. If you guys want to change the direction, you guys want to talk about transfer portal, you guys want to talk about bowl projections, you guys run the show, you guys know how to do it. Get in where you fit in. If not, we'll take a listen to what Coach Heupel had to say.
Start off by saying thank you to the men and women that serve our country. Obviously, today was salute to service across the country, and everybody in our program is very thankful for the sacrifices that the men and women make and their families make to allow us to do what we do. Senior day, really, proud of this group. A lot of them were here when I first got here. Chose to stay here through some uncertainty, bought into our vision of what the program can and would be about, and it's a phenomenal group. It's a group that I think over the last couple of years has won 13 games. Is that right? At home, at 13 home games, which over that span is as good as it's been since the late 90s. So, we've had some disappointment in the results along the way. But this group, this team continues to fight and compete extremely hard. They prepare the right way. Really proud of them. That happens because of a lot of the leadership from that senior group. So with that, I'll open it up.
Jenny for $5 says, "I was only 2 years removed from 1998. We got so close to my sophomore year. Stupid LSU ruined our season. My hatred for Bama or for Saban started that year." So Jenny grew up when I grew up. We lived through the successful times, and that's what Coach Hype talking about. 13 wins at home the last couple of years. That's going back to the 90s since you saw that. And again, to talk about 8-4 and the way this season finished up, the way this season played out, not happy with that. You're not satisfied with that, but sometimes you got to sit back and look at the grand scheme of things. How much does this offense change moving into 2024 with Nico? Is Nico as advertised? Do we see Nico come in and just ball out? I mean, he had a year, really more than a year, because he was an early enrollee. So he went through bowl practice last year, went through spring camp, fall camp. He'll go through bowl practice again. So he will have gone through 2 full bowl preparations, 2 full spring camps, 2 full fall camps, a full season of watching in-game, game preparation, preparing week in and week out to go out and play in the SEC. Is he the guy that we think he is? And then I get encouraged. And again, I will drop a video later today. Next couple of videos, what do you guys want? You guys want bowl projections, or do you want me to take a look at the roster for 2024, the guys that can come back? Whatever you guys want. I may do both. But, we talked about it earlier in the show. Cooper Mays and Javonte Spraggins comes back. All of a sudden, your offensive line's looking a little bit better for next year. Gerald Mincey still has a year of eligibility left. You could possibly return your entire starting offensive line for 2024. Oh, well, Boogie, they're not that good. Offensive line's not that good. Are they not? Right up at the top of the SEC in rushing yards per game. Joe Milton got kept pretty clean most of the time. And, oh, guess what? There's a wild card in Nico in the way he escapes the pocket, extends plays. So you bring back that offensive line. You bring back the talent at wide receiver. And I know they were hit or miss at times. I think Dante Thornton was starting to ball out. Squirrel White, what a season that he's had. All of a sudden, you start to get a little excited about the direction of this program.
Start with Ben and then go to Rob.
Josh, how much did you enjoy watching Joe play today on senior day and being able to finish his career in Neyland that way?
Yeah, proud of his resiliency, continued to, prepare, fight, and compete extremely well. Obviously, the band's ready to play one more round. But he was really good throughout the course of the football game, and decisive, was in the right spot and recognized coverage, and did some really good things. Had some guys out on the perimeter make plays. And, for most of it, the protection was really pretty solid. There were a couple times it broke down. He extended and made some plays, and proud of the effort from the offensive line, and obviously that group was extremely, beat up.
Yeah, you're basically running the twos. Basically running the twos on the offensive line and put up 600 yards of offense. I get it. It's Vanderbilt, but still. Timothy McGee for another $5. Appreciate that, brother. I was born in the 80s, and I was born in 80, and remember, Major's a lot of up and down years, so I am more hardened than most. You're only a year older than me, Timothy. I remember Majors, but Fulmer was always my guy. Majors was the coach there. And you watch Tennessee football, but I didn't really dive into football so much that I cared until Fulmer was the coach, right? So, I was watching. I just didn't care as much when Majors was the coach, if that makes sense. Appreciate the super chat, Timothy. Always good to have you in the chat, my friend. Let's hear more from Josh Heupel postgame.
Coach, that was my question. The offensive line, I don't think anybody finished the game where they started. Have you ever had to mix and match something like that? What can you say about this guy?
Nah, Coach Ellerby and I were just talking. As I was getting ready to come in here. I've never been a part of it as a player, as a coach. Just how it's unfolded this year for whatever reason, and there's not one thing you can point a finger at. Proud of the guys that continue to step up, guys that come back and compete, and it's really good group.
Page in the back middle.
Since 2009, Joe Milton's the first quarterback to be responsible for 6 touchdowns in a game. What made him so effective tonight?
Smart decision making, accurate with the football, and guys out on the perimeter doing a great job, and a lot of quarters, and which essentially becomes one-on-one situation, and offensive line doing a good job protection. So you put all that together, and then a couple opportunities in the red zone running the football where he's got a really special night.
A lot of one-on-ones. Man, you got to be happy for Joe, right? We've all been so frustrated. We've all been honest. A lot of you, some of us, more honest than others, more critical than others. But it's so nice to see Joe, again, a guy that gave his all to Tennessee, go out and just ball out. Almost 400 yards, accounted for 6 touchdowns. We got the number. We got the number from the broadcast. First time that a player's accounted for 6 touchdowns since Crompton did it in 2009. I bet that made old Crompton smile. I should have watched his post game to see what he had to say about having his name mentioned with his good friend Joe Milton. Rocky Top Time for 5 says 5 down on the speculative video on next year's team if certain guys come back. An in-depth look at each position with a possible returning starter. Tom's winning the bidding war. He's like, I'm not going to let you guys steal a bowl projection. I'm not going to let Nelson yell in the chat that he wants Boogie to talk about Jordan Seaton all day, every day. Rocky Top Tom says, I'm paying for it. So, all right, $5 down on the returning guys. That'll be coming later today unless somebody outbids Tom. Look, we'll turn this thing into an all-out bidding war to see where we go after this live stream is over. But just good to see Joe Milton. And, hearing him say a lot of one-on-ones. How much was it that, you had a lot of one-on-ones and your wide receivers just went out and won those one-on-ones, right? And that's something that maybe they've not been doing as successfully this year. I don't know. A lot of things go into the passing game not going the way that we wanted to, but I think help is on the way.
Stay in the back with Casey.
When you look at Jacob Warren and McAllen Castles, what are you most proud of for the tight end room this season?
Jacob Warren's been such an integral part in the building of this program. His leadership, in particular over the last couple of years, I don't think you can overstate. Guy that it means everything to wear the power T and to play and compete. Joe just came back for his sixth year. Callie, new to the program, fully invested, bought into everything. Guy that prepares extremely hard. It means everything. He wants to perform, not for himself, but for the guys around him. And just continue to get better throughout the course of the year. Both extremely unselfish players. They'd rather see the other guy catch a touchdown than themselves. And two dynamic players. They had a good night tonight too.
I love the story. Jacob Warren, we were talking about him earlier. He's a guy that went through senior day last year. Went through senior day, wasn't sure if he was going to come back and play. Thought he may have been done with football, but he elects to come back. And then in that process, McAllen Castles transfers in. And what does he do? You can look at the guy side-eyed and say, this is my spot. I came back. I sat and watched Princeton Fant dominate last year. It's my turn. It's my turn. Why is this guy coming in? Why are you recruiting this guy? But no, he doesn't do that. He takes McAllen Castles under his wing, teaches him the offense. They become best friends. I'm gonna share this from Twitter, from Ball Football Twitter, because I love it. This is McAllen Castles after the game. Take a listen to this, man.
I mean, yeah, obviously I wasn't here for the whole time, but I came here for the football, but I always remember it for the people. This has been the best college football experience I've ever been a part of. I mean, this is my best friend right here. Spend every day with him, just grinding. But, I've never felt like I belong more in a college football space than I have here, and I've made multiple stops. So I think that just speaks to the culture that these guys have built.
That's a recruiting sales pitch in and of itself. That speaks for itself. I've been a lot of places, but nowhere like this, man. Jacob Warren's my brother. Talks about the culture that Hype's built. Man, just like I said earlier, put that on a billboard and sell this program, because we talk in the post game. People were saying, I wish Heupel would get more pissed off. I wish he would kick a clipboard. We talk in recruiting about how maybe is Josh Heupel too laid back? Is he too laid back? And you got Georgia strong arming kids and not Clemson not allowing kids to take visits. Does Josh Heupel's laid back approach work? Does his family atmosphere work? I think it does. I think it does. I think we're seeing the proof in guys like Jacob Warren, guys like McAllen Castles, guys like Joe Milton. I think I heard him say, it's time to hand it over to Nico. I had my last run in Neyland Stadium, and now it's Nico's turn, right? And Joe waited for his turn. And that's why I'm so happy that Joe went out on a high note, because he did choose Tennessee. He could have easily transferred out, man. This quarterback room could have been in shambles going into 2023. Would Nico have been okay as a true freshman? Probably. But is that ideal? Do you want to roll out a true freshman to start day one? Probably not. Maybe Nico's the exception to the rule. But Joe chose to come back, man. The culture here, the relationship between guys that are competing, guys that are fighting for that same position, right? That quarterback room, Joe Milton, Hendon Hooker. Now seeing Joe Milton and Nico. Jacob Warren, McAllen Castles. Let's hear more from Heupel post-game press conference.
David?
Josh, what could you see that was happening in the second quarter as far as the skirmishes there, and how important was it at halftime to
let's talk about fights.
Yeah, addressed it, tried to address it on the sidelines too, and we talked as a coaching staff as well, and it got pretty chippy there for a little bit. Talked about it at halftime, playing smart football. We didn't necessarily do that. We had more penalties than we want.
I think in that whole scenario, I don't think Tyler Barron was out there making a dirty play. I mean, I truly think it was on the officials. How do you have a false start and a delay of game? How do you have those two penalties lead to a quarterback getting hit? Like, how do you even let that happen? I mean, that's a quick whistle. The delay, both of them, the delay of game, the false start, those are quick whistles. How in the world are you letting the defensive line get to the quarterback? And I don't think it wasn't, the quarterback had obviously given up. He was done. He had stopped playing football. I didn't go back and listen to the replay. I didn't listen to when the whistles came in. But it certainly felt like there were a lot of people out there still playing football. But the bottom line is it's on the officials. It's on the officials. You can't let that play go that far. But, something we mentioned earlier, how many of those guys are going to be suspended to start 2024? Any of them? Because the rule states if you leave the bench during an altercation, you're suspended for the next game that you play. Well, there was nobody on the sideline for Vanderbilt. Not a single player was left on the bench. They all cleared the bench. You look at Tennessee, there's a picture of it plain as day on Twitter. Tennessee's bench, everybody looks like they're still on the bench except for the guys that were on the field. However, on the flip side, is Vanderbilt going to roll out 2024 game one and not have a football team? Are you going to stick to the rules, or are you just going to say, yeah, we'll let it slide? It was the end of the year. They suck. They're not going bowling. We'll let it slide. No. Rules are rules. I think Vandy needs to roll out a bunch of intramural players, I guess, to start the 2024 season. But it's on the officials, and I said it post game. It's the same officiating crew that called the Tennessee-Alabama game earlier this year. Just a horrible job. And when are they going to hold these officials accountable? When are you going to hold these guys accountable? Because you're to blame for the entire brawl that went down. And by the way, with the brawl, did you guys see late in the game Kamal Hadden talking trash, ready to throw a punch? I'm exaggerating, but he was coming off the bench talking trash, got that arm all tied up in his sling, and he's still just giving it the business. Man, Kamal Hadden has a chip on his shoulder. Oh, I would have liked to see him finish his career at Tennessee. See what you guys are saying. Won't ever happen, sadly. No, it won't. They'll never be held accountable. That's hilarious, Adam. That is hilarious. Rocky Top Tom, do they have one starter who would start at UT? Just one. Gabe Judy Lolly transferred. So maybe some. Coach Jay says, play to the whistle. And the quarterback shouldn't have given him the old knees to nuts. Oh, man. Let's hear more from Josh Heupel post-game press conference. Appreciate you guys hanging out on this Monday morning. We had a little scare from Spectrum Internet. What else is new? But here we are. Let's hear more.
Adam. Josh, there was some disappointments this year. You mentioned that.
Yeah.
Then there was
Gabe Judy Lolly is from Vanderbilt to BYU to Tennessee.
the season is the 13 years before you got here. How should fans balance the pluses and the minuses of those?
They should feel, the way that we feel. And when I say that, I'm proud of this group. They've worked extremely hard. They've prepared the right way. On game day, they've been resilient. They continue to fight and compete. Man, every Saturday is different. And we've all had some disappointment. Everybody in that locker room, coaches, me, everybody, when we don't end up on the right side of the scoreboard, man, there's disappointment in that. This group's never walked out on the field not thinking they were going to win.
Do you like the state of the program overall, aside from any one game or season or anything?
Rephrase that, or say that one more time.
The state of the program overall, this 4 years. Do you like where the state of the program is, aside from just...
Man, I'm really proud of where we started, where we're at, where we got to continue to fight to go get to. But absolutely.
Asked him if he's satisfied with the state of the program right now. Where are you guys? Everybody in the chat. We got 170 people watching right now. Some of you guys are lurkers. Some of you guys, how many of you guys are lurkers that are at work? You got your phone on, but you're hiding it from your boss. I want you guys to answer this question too. I want to take away the productivity of you for the man. Let's take down our productivity a notch. Let's enjoy talking Tennessee football. Look, where you work is not going to care when you quit or when you're done or when you walk away. But we will love you forever here in the Talkin VAWLS community. So I want you guys to put in the chat a letter grade. How would you grade Heupel after 3 regular seasons at the University of Tennessee? Give him an A+. Talk about what he's done, in the transfer portal. Looking at the roster, the guys that transferred out. Evan, don't drive and text. Don't let Coach J be a bad influence. Do not drive and text. You don't have to answer. Evan's answering anyway. How would you grade him? Transfer portal, recruiting, in-game decision making. Evan says an A+. J Neal, let's see. Man, y'all are going so fast I can't keep up. J Neal says an A. B+, A. Ben Gaylor not completely satisfied. B+, A-, A, A+, A. A lot of good grades here. I'm just curious if we could go back in time. If we could rewind time and go back to when Butch Jones was the coach, when Derek Dooley was the coach after 3 years. What were your grades? What did your grades look like? Because I'm openly, Timothy McGee for $2. Thank you for the super chat, brother. He gives Josh Heupel an A. A. Appreciate that, Timothy. Where were you guys at on Butch Jones? Where were you guys at on Derek Dooley? When did you start to turn and say, hey, this guy's never going to get it done at the University of Tennessee? When did you turn on Jeremy Pruitt? I'll never forget. A lot of you guys, the first time you ever saw the Talkin VAWLS Network, the first time you ever saw a live stream was the Georgia State game. That's the first time you ever saw Talkin VAWLS live. Nelson says F+ for Butch. Hank for 2 says, you asked me to name a game Joe has won, and you got it. Vanderbilt. I got you, Hank. I got you. I'm one of those guys, and it's kind of funny looking back on it, that Georgia State game, it was just me and JP. Nobody else was on the show. It was just me and JP. And JP's a guy that will turn on a coach like that. He's ready to fire somebody every week. It doesn't matter who you're playing, what the score is, what's happened on the field. Some of you guys were talking about the Dr. Pepper commercial after one play. That's JP. He's ready to fire everybody, burn it to the ground. Me, on the flip side, I'm bad to make excuses. I'm bad to roll with coaches until it's way too late. I rode with Butch Jones till the wheels fell off. I remember sitting inside Neyland Stadium when Derek Dooley faked a field goal against Missouri when they were awful, and they still lost the game. And I remember having chills on my arm because they faked a field goal and it worked. We've been through it, boys and girls. We have lived some of the lowest of lows. You guys are all Fs and D pluses for those coaches. But I would like to go back to when the wheels weren't off yet, right? A couple of games in. Just interesting. Is Hype the guy? I think he is, but I also thought Butch was. Now looking back, it's like Matt Mars says right there in the chat. That puts a lot of perspective on it. Josh Dobbs saved Butch Jones for a couple of years. He got exposed after Josh Dobbs left. And kind of the question with Hype, man, something that I said early in this year, are we going to be 2 years from now saying the same thing about Josh Heupel? Man, Hendon Hooker really bought him some time. We thought he was a great coach. Do you need an elite level quarterback for this offense to roll? Nelson says 2020 Arkansas, 2017 Georgia State game was the worst for me. What about Wyoming? You remember the Wyoming game? That Georgia State. When Jeremy Pruitt lost to Georgia State, JP came on the show and said he will never get it done at the University of Tennessee. I made all the excuses in the world. And then Jeremy Pruitt even comes back and gives you a little false hope and goes on that winning streak at the end of 2019. So we roll into the COVID year thinking we're pretty good, and then that was it. The wheels fell off. The show was over. Oh, there's no doubt Butch had talent. He had so much talent. All right, let's hear more from Josh Heupel. I love when we get sidetracked and derailed on a Monday morning stream. Nothing hits like a morning show. Last one of the regular season, man. Last one. We're gonna bring back the morning shows, probably the week of the bowl game. We'll do the Monday show with Cainer. We'll do the Friday show with Coach Jay. Probably the week of the bowl game.
Just going back to the offense, I saw there wasn't like any touchdowns, but the run game looked really solid today. What was your favorite aspect about that?
Yeah, it wasn't extremely efficient early in the football game. We picked up some yards, but the perimeter plays off of the run game were really big. Jay Wright, I don't think anybody's mentioned, but goes over 1,000 yards this year. Played extremely well. Jabari averaged 7.5 on 4 carries. There were some big plays. There were efficient plays. At the end of the day, you look at the group that's up there continuing to compete. I'm talking about the 5 offensive linemen and tight ends. There were a lot of positive things.
All right, thank you.
Glad to see Jalen Wright get his 1,000-yard season. What a stud. Best running back on the football team. I will argue that. Everybody that wants to say that Dylan Sampson's a better running back, he may be. Somebody asked me in the comment section of the Dylan Sampson transfer portal video if I thought Dylan Sampson was the best running back, and I said no. He could be the better running back when it's all said and done. But for 2023, Jalen Wright was the best running back on this football team, and it showed. He averaged almost 7.5 yards per carry. Now, Dylan Sampson's electric. I love Dylan Sampson. I'm excited about his future. I hope he chooses to stay Tennessee. I think the entire thing with the transfer portal, I do think it was intentional. I do think it was specific, and I do think it was in reference to the portal, and I do think it's all an NIL play. It's just like Jalen Wright. That's how I take it. You can take it however you want to take it, but I think there's something to it, and it is an NIL play. I do. That's what I believe. Timothy McGee for another 2 says, would you say that with Majors? Timothy, I never really got into it with Majors. And again, I know you said you were born in 1980. I was born in 81. So when Philip Fulmer took over in 93, I was 12 years old. I watched Tennessee football, but I didn't know the ins and outs. I didn't really keep up with it. I had my players that I watched, my players that I loved, guys like Andy Kelly. But, you look at Johnny Majors' record. I just pulled it up on Wikipedia. He won 5 games. He went 5-6 in 1988. Do you think 7-year-old Boogie cared that Johnny Majors only won 7 games? I was probably looking for my Optimus Prime Transformers. I just didn't care. I was probably playing with G.I. Joes when I was 6 years old, not really stressing about college football. It was probably not until probably the mid to late 90s when I really started caring. Not caring, but I would be pissed if Tennessee lost in the mid to late 90s. And then just as the older I get, the more I care. It's weird. I've seen other people say this, man. I've seen other people say the older they get, the less they care about other sports and the more they care about Tennessee football. And that's exactly where I'm at. It's like I used to be a huge Redskins fan. Used to love the NFL. I used to love fantasy football. Every year I would be in 2, 3, 4 fantasy football leagues. I love the NFL. I love watching the NBA back in the day when you had the real rivalries, the Celtics, the Lakers, the Bulls, the Pistons, when everybody had their player, right? It's like you had Charles Barkley. You had Patrick Ewing representing the Knicks. You had Isaiah Thomas in the Pistons. You had Jordan in the Bulls. You had players. Larry Bird and the Celtics. You had all these players that were loyal to their teams. You didn't have guys, go here and go there. You didn't have them leave from Cleveland to go to Miami, back to Cleveland, back to Miami, then go to L.A., then fly all over the country to follow the dollar. They were loyal to their teams. That's when the NBA used to be awesome. I used to love the NBA. Now I can't sit through a game. It's the same thing, even hockey. I got into the Preds for several years, and I still like hockey. I don't get it on YouTube TV, so I don't really watch it much, but it's just I care less and less and less about other sports. All I care about is Tennessee football. That's why when people say, oh, why don't you cover this? Why don't you cover that? Because all I care about is Tennessee football. I want to talk recruiting. I want to talk transfer portal. I want to talk all the news and notes, the rumors, the scoops, the speculation. That's what I'm here for. That's what I love. Now, do I care about Tennessee baseball? Yeah, I love Tennessee baseball. I hope they, have a great run. I think they've got an opportunity to go win a College World Series under Tony Vitello. I think he's a great coach. I just don't make the time to sit down and watch every midweek game, every weekend game. I watch them when I can. Somebody asked earlier, man, I don't know how this channel does in the offseason, Boogie, but I wish you the best of success. It gets hard. And even if you cover baseball, even if you cover basketball, people don't watch it. People don't watch that type of content. They don't care. The grand mass of people would much rather watch a recruiting video than they would a baseball recap live stream. That's just the reality of what this fan base is. Now, I still want the basketball team to have success. We'll do some watch parties. We'll cover it once it gets to March Madness. We'll kind of do some stuff with it and have some fun with it. I want every team at Tennessee to have success, but the only one I lose sleep over is Tennessee football. Timothy McGee for 2 says, that was the one we just read. Would you say that with Majors? Nate Pruitt for 5 says, cover charge Boogie. God bless and go Vols. Smash that by God. Thumbs up. I'm still waiting for Nate to change his name to good old Nate Pruitt. Thank you for the super chat, brother. Appreciate the tip in the tip jar. Yeah, there's nothing like playoff hockey. Playoff hockey is so much fun, man. And that's why I think so many sports kind of lose the magic, right? It's like baseball, 162 games. Who freaking cares? Like, why even watch until you get down to that final stretch run? And it's the same way with basketball. Nobody cares about college basketball until March Madness. The diehard people will watch. The diehard people that love the sport will watch, but the casual fan, nobody's tuning in to see what happens before conference play starts. Jenny drops another $5 super chat. Says, "But you're a year older than me, and I remember Majors. That would because of my daddy. He was a huge UT fan." Yeah, I mean, I remember Johnny Majors. I just didn't care, right? I just didn't care when Johnny Majors was the coach. I didn't lose sleep. If Tennessee football lost. You know, there was a long stretch here recently too where I would be over it. I would be over it within a matter of an hour. But now we're getting back to where we belong. Josh Heupel's got us going back in the right direction. And I'm starting to be pissed off again. That Missouri game took me till probably Wednesday or Thursday to get over it. That's a good thing. That means Tennessee football is back. We expect to win. We expect to beat Florida. We expect to beat Alabama. Georgia may be the only team on the schedule right now that we don't look at and go, we should go beat them. Everybody else, we expect to beat them. Timothy drops another $10. Timothy being very generous, man. Appreciate your support around here, Timothy. You keep the lights paid. All you members do. All you members, man. You guys make it possible for me to do this, especially through the offseason. Keep those memberships up to date, renewed. We would appreciate it. Timothy says, disagree. Wright and Small at the time looked like Tarzan, ran like Jane. Also, Sampson fought for more yards. Said before, you can put all three in the game, shotgun, two back, and Sampson in the slot. I think Sampson's better than Jabari Small. I just don't think he's better than Jalen Wright. I think Jalen Wright was the best football player on this team for the offense. I think that's fair to say. Again, averaged almost 7.5 yards per carry. Showed elite speed, right? The touchdown he had against Georgia, you know, he hits the hole. He's patient. He was so patient when you're running that little trap play to let it set up and then get north-south once the play has developed. But then he outran two elite SEC defensive backs on that play. That he showed his speed. A lot of times it's like, oh, Jalen Wright's not very, very fast. Oh, he's extremely fast. And he showed it. He showed it on that play. We can agree to disagree, though, Timothy. That is perfectly fine. Seth says, as an Atlanta sports fan, I'll revolve my world around a Tennessee football game. Braves games, if they're on, everything else I could really care less about. See, I used to be a diehard Braves fan, man. I grew up with the poster that had Smoltz and Glavine and Maddox and Steve Avery. I used to go to the Braves games all the time as a kid, man. I loved the Braves growing up. I just don't make time to watch 162 baseball games during the regular season. All right, we still got 172 people watching. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me on this Monday morning. Let's hear a few more comments here from Josh Heupel. Timothy for another 2 says Sampson can too if he was the feature back. Maybe. I mean, that's a fair point, Timothy, but I go back to yards per carry. Dylan Sampson only got 86 carries. Jalen Wright got 137. Jalen Wright averaged 7.4 yards per carry. He averaged almost 2 yards more per carry. So we'll leave it as a maybe. All right, let's get back to Coach Heupel.
Next couple weeks coming up, are they about the most hectic time of the year for a coach with a million things going on with guys maybe leaving or not, portal not, going recruiting, all that stuff? How do you even go about trying to sort of manage those couple weeks, and how big are they for your program?
Massive, huge implications on what you're going to be as you move forward as a program. So, yes, there's a lot going on all at one time. High school, portal, your players, all of it, and you got to manage it all. You got to have a great staff that communicates at a really high level, and do the right things, make the right decisions.
Reese in the back, coach, to see Ramel score twice
Yeah.
after a rough start to the season with a few drops. What does that mean?
Yeah, just yeah, I'm proud of Ramel. I probably late in the year, you guys got a sense that he wasn't 100% early in the year. Just continues to fight and compete, and you know, a year ago he stepped up in a huge way. When Sed went down, this year hasn't always been perfect for him, but guy that competes and practices extremely hard, and to go finish it inside of Neyland Stadium the way he did tonight was awesome to see.
How many times is that the case? Him saying Ramel Keaton wasn't 100% early in the year. You know, we see these guys make plays, and to be fair, all we know is what we know, right? That's I would get so mad when certain people, certain one person in the media talks about fans and holding us to some standard when they say, well, I knew that this was going on, and you need to react this way. You don't know the full true story. Well, guess what? Excuse me, sir. All I know is what I know. So when we're questioning Ramel Keaton, we don't always know the full story. Talking about him being hurt, being banged up. Same with Joe Milton early in the year, right? We didn't know he was dealing with a rib injury, and we don't need to know that. We don't have to know that. But on the flip side, don't expect us, Mr. Media Sir, to react a certain way to information that we don't have, because we can't do that. I'm just making the point, when you look back at it, things aren't always as they appear. Joe banged up. Ramel Keaton banged up. How many other guys were dealing with injuries? I think when Jarrett Garantano was the quarterback here, he was dealing with injuries. Nobody knew about it till the year was over. You know, we always don't have the full picture. It's just, you know, sometimes we need to remember that. Jenny for $2 says that's how it used to be. We expected to win every game. Yeah, it feels like we're getting back to that finally. You know, so many years under Butch, under Pruitt, under Dooley, under everybody, it's like we expected to win against South Carolina. We expected to win against Vanderbilt and Kentucky, but we just wanted to keep it close. Let's just keep it close against Georgia. Let's keep it close against Alabama. Let's be a good, respectful game. No. We expect to win. Things are changing. Things are going back where they belong. Matt for 5, appreciate that. I was born in 79, became an absolute crazed Vols fan during the Schuler quarterback era, but do clearly remember big wins like the 86 Sugar Bowl. Man, Schuler was a legend. Schuler was one of the guys, you know, I talk about Andy Kelly being the first quarterback that, man, I'd go out in the backyard and pretend to be. Schuler was a legend. He was that dude. And a guy that I grew up with, he was quite a bit older than me, but went to our church, played at the University of Tennessee. He walked on at Tennessee. And it just being I thought, man, you get to practice with Heath Schuler, like just such. Schuler was the man. I love Schuler. Can you imagine Heath Schuler in Josh Heupel's offense? I mean, picture perfect, just designed for a guy like Heath Schuler. J. Neal for 2, there is no better YouTube channel in existence. GBO. I appreciate that. Appreciate that, J. Neal. That is very kind words, man. I'm glad you guys dig what we're doing around here, but it's because of you guys. You guys are such a big part of the community. Whether you're like people in the chat, you know, you're part of the show. People that come on the fan call-in shows, having guys rotating around, like having Dauber on the show, JP on the show, X Factor, Coach J, Coach Rice, Matt Begley, Seth is in the chat, Seth's on the fan call-in shows, Papa J, Nate. Man, there's so many characters. Ron the Don has become a huge character. This community is different than any other place on YouTube. There are people that may grow their channels. They may end up being the top dog. They may have the most subscribers when it's all said and done, but nobody can rival this community. And it's not about the channel. It's about the community. That's what makes this place different. So I'm grateful that for whatever it is that you guys like about this channel, the videos, the content, the live streams, all that stuff, man. I'm glad you guys dig it and you're a part of it, and I'm excited to see where this thing goes. We're right around the corner from 24,000 subscribers. It's insane. It's insane. People come up to me now that we know, or they'll ask my wife, like one of our friends from church asked just recently, she was like, so is your husband working today? She was like, yeah. And she, what does he do again? How do you answer that question? What does your husband do? Well, he sits in front of a microphone and acts like an idiot 95% of the time. It's crazy, man. It is crazy, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful, man. Grateful. Hank for $10 says, I'm kind of the same way. I remember 22. I'm 22. Remember the Butch Jones era. Then I kind of quit watching because I didn't see my grandpa as much. But the past 4 years, it's been all Vols. I don't care about the NFL, MLB, just Vols. It's only going to get worse, Hank. If you're 22 and it's starting now, it is only going to get worse. Trust me. Trust me. All Vols, 24/7 every day. We'll talk it all, recruiting, portal, all that fun stuff. Ron the Dawn and Prison Bob show. Bob changed his name to White Lightning, and then he's going to change it back to Prison Bob. All right, let's hear more from Josh Heupel.
David and Casey.
Josh, you touched on Jalen. That's the first 1,000-yard season here in like 8 years. Is this something that not only Jalen but the entire offense, is that kind of like a group achievement award that everybody kind of likes to share in when they hit that milestone?
Yeah, it absolutely is a group achievement. I said it earlier in the week. It's probably not something that Jay Wright would point to, but the offensive line room, when they got a chance to get a guy to 1,000, they take great pride in that, and the tight ends too. They all play a huge part in that type of recognition.
What's the biggest thing you've seen in Jalen Wright's growth that's allowed him to get to that 1,000 yards in a season mark?
Man, there's a lot of things that he's grown in just off the field. I think just his maturity and how he continues to come into the building every single day, the mindset, and very consistent in his habits. On the field, it's just understanding of the run game based on the defenses that you're seeing. He started out as a elite talent that was really fast, that could or wanted to run just around everybody. He's a real running back that understands how to use the guys in front of him.
Jay Wright needs to get drafted, man. And I know he's going to the NFL. He's entering the draft. He needs to be drafted early, right? Because we put Jalen Hyatt and Cedric Tillman into the NFL. Now we're seeing them make plays in the NFL. Darnell Wright's making plays in the NFL. You got to get a running back in there, man. You got to get a running back. I think it would be huge for Hendon to find himself a starting job somewhere. I don't know what, again, I don't follow the NFL that much, so I don't know what his situation is, what type of opportunities he's going to have. You gotta continue to put guys in the league. That's a big part of recruiting, is showing that development, seeing BY make plays in the league. Can Tyler Barron be that dude? Can he, we question him going into this year. Is he going to be the next BY? Or are these young guys going to push him aside and say, nope, you're not good enough. You're going to go out sitting on the bench. No, Tyler Barron made some plays, and now he's. I think I've heard that he may be opting out of the bowl game to get ready for the draft. Tyler Barron needs to get drafted. Jalen Wright needs to get drafted. You got to continue to put guys in the league and show that you can develop and that talent translates to the NFL. It's comical, and I've said this on a recent show. It's comical how people want to say, oh, Hendon, Jalen Hyatt, Jalen Hyatt and Hendon, they're products of a system. It's just a system. It won't translate to the NFL. Now they're making plays in the NFL. Josh Heupel's offense is struggling. Well, it's just because you had NFL talent, Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt. That's why. Which is it? Which is it, clown? Which is it? Is it a product of a system, or is it NFL-level talent? Did it get developed, or did we get lucky? Nobody was talking about Jalen Hyatt being an NFL talent when he sucked under Jeremy Pruitt, when he comes out and says, I had to buy in. I had to ask Velus Jones, what do I have to do to get to your level? Well, you got to go to work. You got to put your head down and get to work. And Jalen Hyatt did that, and he deserves all the success in the world. Hendon Hooker, NFL-level talent, or did he get developed? How many people were celebrating Hendon Hooker coming to Tennessee? I didn't see any Virginia Tech fans saying, oh, man, oh, gosh, we lost Hendon Hooker. What I saw was a bunch of Virginia Tech fans commenting on my video saying, he sucks. Good luck. Oh, until he should have been at New York. He should have been at New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation. Gets drafted. Product of a system. Which one is it? Freaking clowns talk out of both sides of their mouth. We all know it's Georgia fans. Like, that's exactly who it is. They float around the internet acting like idiots. Got to defend themselves. Got to attack everybody in the world. Imagine an opportunity to go win 3 straight national championships. Haven't lost a game in 3 years, but your self-worth, you have to validate yourself by floating around the internet, yelling and screaming at people. I don't believe there are good people that pull for Georgia. I think they're all terrible, ugly, disgusting human beings. I think it's just that, no, there are no good Georgia fans, Eric. There are none. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Austin, then Patrick.
You talk about Jacob coming back for his 6th year. Talk about Ollie Lane, a guy who hadn't played. I mean, hadn't started a whole lot in his time here, but this year
sure did this year.
Started every step of the way.
Yeah. He's a great example of a guy that it means everything to be inside of this program and does it the right way and cares about his teammates. Came back for another year. He's been thrown in at guard, you know, I think our first year when we got here. This year he's played a little bit of everything, man, and huge part of the success of this football team. Guys like that, you know, never get the recognition that they should. He means a lot inside of that old line room, but to this football team too.
Coach, you got Nico there to play in the fourth quarter. What do you think of his couple drives and what he did?
Thought he did a really good job, you know, off of our run game, throwing the ball out on the perimeter. Was accurate, decisive. When we pushed it down the field, just normal drop back. Like him to pitch the speed option. You know what I mean? Did a good job stepping through the tackle, but all in all, really good job by him.
I love that because after I went on the post-game show yelling and screaming and celebrating Nico running over somebody, Heupel in the post-game, I really wish he would have just pitched that ball. And when I went back and watched the Heupel show, he said the same thing. He should have pitched the ball. But I don't care. I still like seeing the physicality. You know, you got to protect Nico next year especially. What's that quarterback room look like? Is Gaston Moore going to be QB2, or is Jake Merklinger going to come in as a true freshman and be QB2? You got to keep Nico healthy next year. You a must. You have to protect him. You got to keep him clean. You can't let him take silly hits like that, even though it fired me up and got me, you know, pumped up. You got to protect Nico. Is there who has the most pressure? Does anybody in the country have more pressure on them in 2024 than Nico Iamaleava? And he's a gamer, he's a baller. I think he's ready for that pressure, but I don't think there's anybody in the country that has more pressure on them than Nico. Oh, I'm glad I paused it right there and thought we still had one last comment to go. Yeah, Gaston Moore's coming back. That's what I'm saying. Is Gaston Moore QB2? Because Nico was QB2 this year, not Gaston Moore. And Gaston Moore's an asset. In the day and age where it's hard to have a quarterback room with three quarterbacks, he is a huge, huge asset. We're going to wrap it up, man. Appreciate you guys hanging out on this Monday morning, the last Monday morning stream of the regular season. But, hey, stay tuned. We got tons of content. Make sure you are subscribed. Make sure that bell is clicked for notifications. We're going to continue to do things the way we always do. Tuesday night, I'm going to be playing NCAA football. Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to be doing a live stream and kind of recapping the season. I don't know who's going to be on that show yet. I think I know Coach Jay's going to be on it since we don't have a Friday show. I texted Dauber. I think he's down. I'll probably yell at JP. If JP wants to jump on, me, Dauber, Coach Jay, and JP will do a season recap. I hope JP would come on for that. I hope he would come on for that. That would be a lot of fun. So Tuesday night, 6:30. Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Got a video coming a little bit later today. I'm going to take a look at the article from VolQuest, and I'm going to go through every senior that has a COVID year. I'm going to talk about all the seniors that didn't go through senior day and what this roster could look like in 2024. That's going to be coming up here in just a little bit, so stay tuned for that. Maybe we'll do some bowl projections late tonight, or maybe we'll wait and do that early in the morning. But regardless, make sure you guys stick with this thing throughout the entire offseason. We need your support now more than ever. Like when the post-game shows are gone, when we don't have all the live streams throughout the week, we need to get those memberships up to date. Continue to support. We greatly appreciate you guys. And if you can't afford it, as always, don't worry about it. Smash the thumbs up, share out the videos, all that good stuff. But that is going to do it for this one. This is the Talkin VAWLS Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.
That we call